Welcome back to the Abundant Harvest Homestead, where we live a real life. Some people say it's even somewhat relatable. At the moment, I'm an unapologetic meat eater, which means I'm shooting deer and cutting them up, and even sharing content online about it. One of the risks you run when you live a real life that's maybe part of the resistance, which is, I guess, what being wholesome and modest and married and reproducing and sober and stuff like that, you know, that's become the resistance. Yeah, we're happy to do that. And I'm not going to be, you know, some guy wearing skin-tight jeans eating soy burgers to pretend like I'm a meat eater who, you know, sticks to the leafy greens. I have no problem eating meat. I have no problem eating real meat, not fake meat. And part of that is living a connected life to the actual land. To, you know, if I'm gardening, I'm going to have fruit and vegetables. I'm going to get my hands dirty. If I'm hunting or fishing, I'm often going to get my hands bloody. That's just how we do things here in the real world. But recently, I apparently ruffled some meat substitute feathers that a vegan had. And had one of my posts I shared online even muted, you know, where you can't see it unless you click on it. And I took issue with that. I'll get into why. So the thing is, when I share my content online, there's a couple places I blog for cryptocurrency, like Hive and Steemit. And when I do that, I pick different tags and different communities to post in. And a lot of times, like even this type of content, I put in lifestyle. Sometimes lifestyle is simply turned into a really messed up thing of, yeah, I'm not going to go into some of the lifestyles that people focus on with lifestyles. So as part of the counterculture these days, as part of the resistance, I put things like this in there. From a more green point of view, this deer probably farted at some point. So thankfully I shot it so it won't fart anymore, so we won't have to worry about it contributing to gases. Even though, of course, if it farted out some carbon, some CO2, the trees would really like that, because the trees would take that CO2 and then turn it into oxygen, and I'd breathe that in. Or then maybe it'd become a fart again anyway. But I put things like this in lifestyle because I'll tell you what, being married, having children, DIY meat, you know, hunting, that's actually part of my lifestyle. And I don't want that to simply be, yeah, you can go there. And do we got one for the meat tip, for the stew meats? Because this is my two for jerkies.
Okay.
And this is for the scraps.
Can you grab one?
But one of the communities I posted in when I was dealing with food, the Successful Harvest, which is 2 deer that I shot the first morning I went out hunting with the gun season. I knew I was going to post one in the food type community. So there's a foodie community, right? And I thought, well, this one's probably going to be pretty good. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to remind, you know, foodies, some of them, it's the county market, it's the HEB, it's the Walmart, it's the Costco, it's the Sam's Club. That's where their food comes from. And they go to the store and they go shopping, you know, a very trendy, hip thing to do, go shopping. And they bring home their stuff and they make a beautiful meal out of it. Watch him. That's fine. People are certainly free to do that, but what I want to do is make sure to remind people, if you're eating a beautiful cut of meat, this is where it came from. It was dead animal. And still is, actually. You need something to work on? Here, why don't you, which one do you want, big or little?
I'll have bigger.
There you go. And just kind of have that reminder there for people. Kind of like, you know, reminding them they weren't aborted, or reminding them, you know, it was a man and woman that conceived them, you know, and that's the reason they're here. Just things like that that are good to remind people in our culture and society. And what happened was, my post got muted by the community moderator, and they said it wasn't a gastronomic content. Now, gastronomic pretty much means it's like, you know, tasty, delicious things. We made venison jerky in that video to celebrate the successful harvest. I took off these kind of little fly strips that are thin stuff people often throw away with the hide, which I'm not about wasting an animal if we harvested it, so I want to show people you can use that. And people actually commented like, oh, thanks, now I know. A lot of people, some people said like 85–90% of people just throw that stuff away. Yeah, it doesn't have to be. It can be very gastronomic. It can be very, very tasty. And that's what we did to celebrate. So even if you watch the opening clip of the video, I'll roll it right now.
Today is a happy day for my people.
For anyone who's eaten jerky, that is incredibly tasty, what I just showed you. That is some awesome stuff. Now the problem is, I'm guessing the moderator for that channel never watched the content. They saw a picture of a couple deer on a trailer with their throats sliced, and they thought, oh no, oh no. Here's a look at that picture. So if you think about that, from certain people's point of view, that's not very appetizing. Now if you live a real connected life and you've ever gone hunting, you're like, yeah, dinner's going to be good. We're going to have some good meat for the months to come maybe. There's some good meals in our future. But if you live a disconnected life from reality, and like a lot of people do these days, that's just repulsive, you know? And that's what I believe happened. Now, I pointed out to the person, I did not show me blasting these deer. I could have done some slow motion shots where you see the nice little friendly Disney looking deer walking along, all of a sudden a bullet rips through its flesh and blood's flying and it's squirting out. It runs off in the woods and tips over and it's kicking and the blood's squirting out. That happens hunting. I could have shown that, but that's not very gastronomic, you know. So I left that out. And I left out me then going down there and slicing their throats to take all the blood out of their body. I left out that part. I left out the part of me peeling the flesh off of these carcasses, or the hide, because that's kind of pretty severe for some people. That looked like, whoa, you just ripped the skin off that animal. Yeah, that's what happens. We don't eat the fur. And I also left out the part of me cutting off their heads. So compared to what it could have been, I really tried to make it more digestible for, you know, the highly offended, everything hurts my feelings, I have trouble dealing with reality, they called me a name, that's a lot of violence. Those type people. I tried to make it more digestible for them. And I think I did. I think I absolutely did. But the problem is, and this is the point that I pointed out to this person, was you don't come up on my original content and tell me what it is or isn't without watching it. If you would have watched it and saw the opening scene, you would have been like, hey, that's some really tasty jerky, if you're a meat eater. And maybe even if you're not, but you're open enough to understand that some people are, you could probably even realize like, hey, I bet you that tastes pretty good. Moreover, as I looked into, you know, the account, well, the things that they're upvoting and commenting on is a lot of vegan stuff. And here's a couple of the examples of the type of posts that this person running the account, who muted my post and silenced my post because they didn't like it because it was dead animal. Here's the type of stuff they were upvoting and commenting on to encourage. We have vegan shopping 4th edition special selected spices. That was one post. Shop the vegan spice edition and tips for storing them. Okay. We have meatless spaghetti and that type of stuff. So where do you think they could tell, what could they tell from just looking at the title of that post? Oh, these are my people. These are the non-meat eaters. That's fine. Well, that's the thing. You can run a foodies community or something like that, but understand, if you're not running a vegan community, I agree. If I would have posted that in a vegan community, shouldn't have been there. That's like if I had a food thing. For us, we follow like Leviticus 11, Deuteronomy 14, dietary law from God, what he says is food and what he says isn't. So if I had a biblically clean food group, I wouldn't want people posting pigs and catfish and shrimp and crayfish and lobster and stuff like that in there. Hey buddy, hold up. But if I'm just running a food one, I understand that to many people those things are food. So I wouldn't get offended that people are posting on the food thing, because to them that's what it is. So what I don't like in this situation is that they're bringing a lot of their preference into that. If you're vegan, go ahead and be vegan, but understand that other people are going to enjoy meat. I would liken it unto, let's say somebody runs a group for cars, and under their cars thing, they kind of have like suggested posts, and it says like, maintenance, repairs, and cool cars. And somebody shows a picture of a nice Ford something or another that they just bought. And they're showing off the new car. And the person replies and says, oh, I don't think that really fits this community. Maybe you should post that in shopping. Okay, because they weren't really doing any maintenance, they weren't really doing any repairs, they were just showing something they bought, right? So like, oh, you should put that in shopping post. And the person's like, well, I wasn't even shopping in the picture. I just showed what I bought. Kind of like here, I didn't show me hunting. I didn't show me hunting in that video. There's no shot of a deer. I could have a nice slow motion shot of, didn't do it. Now we went and picked up the animal I shot, but technically there was no hunting in there. So to post it in an outdoor community focused on hunting, yeah, I could get away with it, of course. People know why they hunt. It's not all just for sport. A lot of it's for food. A lot of it is for food. But then if you went and looked up the person in the automotive thing, the car thing, and you realize, oh, this person's voting on all the Chevy posts. So mine's not a cool car because I bought a Ford and they're a Chevy person. You see, they're bringing all that preference in and saying, yeah, this isn't for that. I intentionally posted in that community because I intentionally want to keep putting out in the forefront, like, this is reality. If you're eating meat, it's dead animal. It's not all Costco shelf on a little styrofoam with the plastic wrap around it. It's dead animal. I've got some more dead animals in here right now. Smoking some brisket and then making my little brisket fat spiral tater things that are absolutely delicious. See, those guys? Yeah. Plus brisket. And to me, that's a gastronomic, deal. Eating that tastiness. A vegan's not going to like it. The potato they'd be fine with. The salt and pepper and garlic powder they'd be fine with. But you put that piece of brisket fat on top of there, then it's bad. That's fine. They can do that. And I can do this. My jerky, kids, was that jerky incredibly delicious, tasty, amazing food?
Yes, sir.
It absolutely was. But if somebody won't even look at the jerky and never got a chance to taste it, they don't know what that is or isn't. They don't know what that is or isn't. And I find the same problem sometimes. I have a channel, Spiritual Food for Thought, where it's purely spiritual stuff. But all the people who do not watch the video, they don't got time to watch the video, yet they got time to comment on it. And that is a folly and a shame, because someone who answers a matter before they hear it, to them it's a folly and a shame. Not a good idea. So basically, I understand I'm a guest in somebody else's house if I'm posting in their community. I'm not the moderator from that. I'm not the administrator. I'm not the creator of that. I'm a guest in their house. They are certainly free to, mute me, try to silence my post, make it where it's less visible. That's fine. The problem is, know what you're doing. If you want to have a vegan little group, go have a little vegan group. Tell you what, I'll never show up there. Or if I do, I'll show up as just a dish or something I happen to make that wasn't any meat. And then you can enjoy it too. But that's not my lifestyle. is just being vegan, just being vegetarian. If people like or prefer that, that's fine. But to say that this isn't food, I was going to pick it up, okay? Here's a big old chunk of venison. To say that that's not food or that's not delicious, maybe eating it raw like this isn't, but by the time we're done with it, we're going to put that in some venison pot pie. We're going to put that in some venison tacos. You know, we're going to make some stew. We're going to can up some pint jars of this, and we're going to have it for the next year or two. It's going to be part of what we do to provide for our family. So it's interesting too, some of the stuff they prefer is, you know, just food stuff and related to people's culture and stuff like that. This is a culture. This is a culture of people living off the land, reaping this harvest. Think of how many people shoot deer. I forget, it was like 94,000, I think, were taken opening day in, I forget if it was Arkansas or Missouri. I just saw a thing in my, feed. It was talking about like 94,000 deer getting shot in one day, I think. I'll have to check that number. But a lot of deer get shot by hunters, and there's still enough for people to run into with their vehicles. If these things weren't kept in check with hunters, it would be absolutely insane. Not a lot of people would have gardens. I'll say that, because they'd be getting eaten by these guys. And just for frame of reference, the preferred topics in the foodies community was dessert, recipe, contest, vegetarian, breakfast, snacks, sweets, barbecue, and beverages. So I'd throw that in barbecue. American barbecue is smoking things. And even if it's not a preferred topic, it's totally food. The actual rules for that community are post only original content, reposting old content, translating is not considered original, respect and friendliness are expected. I mean, that's it. This is completely original, and I was being respectful, and even by not showing all the stuff that I could have, which would have made it extremely more graphic, especially for, sensitive, plant-based, vegan feathers that might get ruffled. I did a lot of that. And the description of the community is, we are a community that's focused on food, friends, and a passion for gastronomic delights. If you enjoy food, culture, and dynamic experiences, then join with us here in the community. And, this is part of culture, though, too. A culture of country folk, of self-sufficient people, of people who are trying to live off the land is what? Is to go hunting and fishing, is to supply your own meat, too. So it's not just tasty food, it's part of our culture. It absolutely is, and it's part of that heritage and culture that I'm passing on to my children, so long as they're going to be meat eaters. They don't have to. But if they're going to, which the vast majority of people, even if there's a really loud minority that isn't, the vast majority of people are. And even with some heavily promoted, oh, cows are farting, oh, here, try an Impossible Burger, oh, here, you're going to kill everything because you ate red meat. Even with all that going on, the vast majority of people are still meat eaters. So they're not exactly falling for all the propaganda. But again, if you're not going to watch my video, and you're going to tell me what it is or isn't, you're going to be wrong. Look at the opening clip that I showed. I believe that we're in a war. I believe this is part of it. I believe that part of being a guest in somebody else's house, even like I am here on YouTube, means that you kind of got to fall in line or you'll get kicked out. I understand that. But all I want is people to be consistent. If you're going to have a community for food, then allow food to be in that community. If I show some dirty vegetables in the opening clip and then make a tasty meal out of it, don't say, oh, this is gardening. No, because I made some tasty food out of it. It was food to begin with, and then I prepared a dish. If I have tasty venison jerky, that started with a dead deer. And the dead deer started with a live deer. And there was a transition made. And by way of reminder, every animal ever born is going to die. So know that all animals are going to die anyway. Some of them just get used for a beneficial purpose upon their death. So basically, I don't care if I ruffle a vegan's plant-based feathers. I don't care if I do. And I don't care if people are offended that me and my wife had children. And I don't care if they're offended that we're married and monogamous and choose to be committed in a biblical marriage. It's interesting too, you know, marriage, often referred to as matrimony. Matrimony comes from a root like matriarch does. It literally means mother making. There's a lot of things that people pass off as marriages these days that are not matrimony because there's no mother making going on. There was a time and a purpose where reproducing, having the next generation, raising them up in truth was important. Maybe that's not what the majority's doing these days, or the really loud minority. And I'm fine with that because they're free to do as they wish. But as with all things, actions have consequences. One of the actions I went through recently was shooting this deer. The consequence is we've got a lot of food for our future. And a lot of gastronomic content that we're going to be able to enjoy because this stuff, this backstrap here, I'm probably going to butterfly this and smoke it in my smokehouse. This is probably going to be a meal for my family. Another one on the other side, probably going to be a meal for my family. That's probably two, that's probably another couple. Whatever comes off these as I cut up these roasts. I got work to do. I got to concentrate on this. I'm going to get back to real life, but thought I'd pop into the digital for a minute and say, you know what? We're still out there. Those people who have a real connection to reality. And I don't care how loud other people get. I don't care how offended they get. I don't care how irrational they choose to live their lives. We'll live a life that makes sense for me and my family, and we're going to enjoy it. Hopefully you guys do too. Papa out.
Thank you for watching. Hit the like button. Thumbs up. But well.
So funny.
The cow head is good.
The cow head is good?
Yeah.
That's because you know.